Hi everyone, it's Simon Keeling here, weatherweb.net. Thanks again for watching. Remember that site's kept free of charge by the adverts you're seeing around the screen here. So by you coming back and using the site, it's that manages to keep the site free of charge, means that we can do these videos and update the charts for you as well. So thanks for your support. It's Tuesday the 7th of May and we've got a change in the weather taking place during the course of this week. We've had some very warm conditions around, haven't we, over the last couple of days for most of the country. Well, it looks like a breakdown taking place as low pressure sweeps through over the next couple of days. It's going to become wet, it's going to, well, wetter, it's going to become windy, and it's also going to become much fresher too. This was the scene here in Womben this morning, high cirrus cloud again, but this time not indicating fine weather, it's indicating the change on the way. And as I said, we've got some rain coming in during the course of Wednesday, also through Thursday, some very windy conditions Thursday, and then we go into more of a westerly situation through the course of Friday and into the weekend. This is rainfall for the next week, and this takes us through to close of play next Tuesday. And again, you can notice here, this is from the GFS by the way, again notice how most of the rainfall is across western Scotland, northwest England, western Wales and Ireland. Totals there typically 30 to 40 millimetres, much less though in the east and the south. Yes, there's going to be more rain than we've had recently, but totals here between about 7 and perhaps 15 millimetres, and more typically for most, I think it's going to be below the 10 millimetre mark. So despite the unsettled weather coming through, it doesn't look like we're going to be seeing huge amounts of rainfall at least during the next week. Now, interesting to compare between the ECMWF here on the left and the GFS on the right. This is the 7 to 10 day mean of the 500 millibar flow, which you'll be familiar with. It takes us through from next Tuesday to Friday the 17th. And what's interesting is both have the ridge in the Western Atlantic and the trough through the British Isles here. Now, it's deciding what's going to happen to that trough that is key to deciding what's going to happen to the weather as we get into the end of May. What I think is going to happen is this ridge is going to build north. It's going to link in with the ridge here through Scandinavia as we've seen before. I think that trough then heads southeastwards into Europe, and what that results in is a more east and northeasterly flow through the British Isles. Now, I think that could bring some fairly unsettled conditions across parts of East Anglia, the southeast and southern parts of England, but I think for Scotland, for northern England, for western Wales, for Ireland, we should be generally dry, perhaps also for parts of the Midlands too. So these ever-increasing indications of this northeast wind, and of course what we have to do is kind of build the blocks of this to see where conditions will go. Now, we've got to look for the stories to how we get to that situation. This is the ECMWF forecast for next Tuesday. So this is Tuesday the 14th. Notice the area of low pressure out here towards the west of Scotland. Mark that in red, it's clearer. There we go. Notice that low pressure out towards the west of Scotland. Now, by Wednesday, it's sunk down here, look. So we've gone from there to there. So it's moving in a southeasterly direction. It's taking the trough with it. Here is the trough. You can see there in the 500 millibar flow. By Thursday, the low is down towards the south of Ireland, with a secondary feature formed here off southeast Greenland. And then by Friday the 17th, the low is getting down into the Bay of Biscay. We've also got this low towards the east of Scotland. But look, here's high pressure forming across the northern parts of Scandinavia. Now what that does is it's turning the flow increasingly to the east. And what I think will happen is as this high builds back westwards, this low will sink down here into southern parts of Europe, and the flow will eventually become more east or northeasterly, leading us to cooler conditions, best of the sunshine out towards the west, but the chance of some fairly unsettled weather and some rain across East Anglia and the southeast. It all depends on how close the low is and how much rain can develop across Europe. What we can be more certain of is that Central Europe and Southern Europe are likely to become much more unsettled during the last third of May, and cooler too. Actually, cooler across the north, probably fairly warm in the south and fairly muggy with some significant thunderstorms. So what about the MJO? Well, this is from the ECMWF once again, and this is valid from the 3rd of May through to the 3rd of June. So if we just count down the days here, we've got the 2nd predicted here. This is the 3rd predicted there. This is the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th there, going into phase 4. Phase 4 is this more unsettled westerly flow coming in off the Atlantic, so a more unsettled set of conditions. Now, we then saw the low go south, didn't we? So it's picking up on this westerly flow, but remember we've got this low going south of the country through Ireland. So if we just carry on through 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th, 20th, 21st, This is about the 21st that it gets into phase 5. Phase 5 is actually quite a flat pressure regime. It's a bit indescript, but what it tends to do is to lean more into a developing negative NAO. So the westerly winds becoming weaker across the Atlantic. Now, it's only a very weak phase 5. Look, it's going back into the centre here, so it's a very weak phase 5 to end, but it's building this picture all the time of this low pressure going to the south and of the high building up towards the north. And if you saw the website yesterday, you'll know what I did on there. I listed on there comparison years to this year using this initial chart from the National Weather Service in the States. These are the comparison years down here, and I took the top 5 years from these and looked at what conditions were like. This was the 11-day forecast for the 16th of May. Okay, so then what I did was projected 14 days forward from each of these dates to see how the pressure pattern developed after. And it was fascinating to see. This is 2007, which saw low pressure south, high pressure north, and northeasterly flow, which of course is what we're looking at. This would have brought fairly unsettled conditions across much of the southern part of the UK and southeast England. Then I looked at 1978, which had high pressure from Scandinavia towards the northeast of Scotland. Also, we had low pressure down towards the south, but this east and northeasterly flow. So dry conditions for many, more unsettled to the south. Then I looked at 1991, which had high pressure in the Atlantic, ridge of high pressure through the UK, but look, northeasterly flow across the south again. Low pressure across Central Europe and across southern parts of Iberia. Next up was 1951, high pressure east of Scotland, low pressure Central Europe, oh and look, a northeasterly flow. And then finally 1962, high pressure southwest of Ireland, also across Scandinavia. We had low pressure though across northwest Italy, but this little trough crossing the British Isles too, which kind of confused things a little bit, but generally the flow's coming in as a northeasterly on the back of this low. Now we then put all the means of these flows together just to see what happened through these years, and you notice low pressure down towards the south, high pressure up towards the north and also towards the southwest, but more importantly this east or northeasterly flow. So you see how this is backing up this idea all the time of going into this east or northeasterly flow during this final third of April. Now it's critical as to how far north this low forms. If it's in here, then we're going to get rain across the southern UK. If it's in here, then probably the UK will stay generally dry and cool. I think whatever happens, best of the dry weather is Scotland, western parts of England, western parts of Ireland, but I think there will be rain, and I'm going to say across the southeast of England and across East Anglia. So some fascinating results coming in from that. What it doesn't do is detract from the fact that it's going to go unsettled over the next couple of days. Then we're going to go into more of a westerly flow across the country by Friday and into the weekend and early next week. And then we find that low slipping southeastwards across Ireland, down into the Bay of Biscay, through the middle part to the end of next week. It brings in a milder southeasterly flow, bringing warmer conditions to much of Scotland, northern England and Northern Ireland. Some rain possible for Ireland, Wales and southern parts of England, but increasingly that flow then turning more to the east or the northeast during the following week, which brings the threat of some rain into the southeast, but dry conditions towards the north and the west. So, lots and lots of information for you there. Hopefully that's been useful. Remember, we're kept free of charge by the adverts you see around the screen. By you coming back and using the site is what keeps us free of charge. So, once again, thanks for watching weatherweb.net. Keep the sun shining and have a great day. Bye for now.